just to think that we started with one cell, and all the cells we have in the organism are the follow-up of this one first cell. So if we think any cell of my hand could have become a cell of my ear, or the cells of the ear could have become a cell of my back. So, as long as every cell, all the millions, billions of the cells, started from the same one cell, they are akin to each other. So, they have somewhere the possibility of listening. Each cell has the possibility of listening. And I heard from Japanese researchers, they tried to not to develop cells, the opposite, to return cells towards original, you say, gem cells?
Oh, stem cells?
Yes.
Yeah.
Stem cells. And they succeeded. That cells who had developed to some degree into some part of ourselves, to make them envelop, to go back into stem cells. So that proves also that any cell has a kinship and guarded a capacity of having become another cell too. So really, if the body can listen, hears, and students have confirmed that the back listens when I speak to him, and it's not the same as if I speak to the head, to his mental ability, to the memory, to his knowledge. It's not the same listening. And I have had students who made 2 hours interviews talking about the reactions of their cells, how their cells felt.
Wow.
Nothing was programmed. It came all up like that. So I couldn't have induced things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a very different way of like how the Western world has come to think about the human, like that real split in the mind and the body. And it feels like what you're saying, Regina, it's like, well, we've all come from that first cell and multiplied, and there's so much more dialogue is possible here.
Yeah, you're so right. So much more dialogue is possible. Not everything. This would be a presumption or an exaggeration, but much more. Much more. And Damasio, the neurologist and so important researcher, he also said there are not enough bridges from the so-called automatic nervous centers to the conscious centers, as if we were really 2 persons. The unconscious functioning of all our organism and some tiny part of consciousness. But the bridges are not very developed.
Right.
So it's really also work. Working like that, we can develop more connections so that our conscious part becomes more and more informed about what's going on in the organism. And the unconscious part, the unconscious part is not unconscious. It's it's fully conscious, but not maybe not linked as much as it could be.
Yes. Well, and I really noticed what you said earlier in our discussion, where like so much of the organism is used to being mute. Is not used to being invited into
Mm.
dialogue, and that makes sense to me. Like when we're then there is our cognitive capacity that's used to being called into dialogue. We've had that from being so young. But what about so much else of us? All this other part of our processing that isn't used to being in the dialogue. And
Yeah, you say it wonderfully. Thank you.
well, thank you, Regina. Well, if I think you've described it so clearly in terms of like, yeah, the picture I can see of the therapist and the cognitive part of the client, and then this, yeah, like an emerging,
Yeah,
something else
emerging.
emerging into
Yeah.
the relationship. Just lovely, yeah.